Hey everybody, this is Josh from WA Production, and today I'm really excited because we just added our very first Kontakt collection to our WA Production web store. So the collection is called Polyscape from Karani Sounds, and it's a really awesome collection for creating analog, vintage vibes. Think movies like Terminator or Blade Runner. It's made from all of these real recorded analog synths, both vintage as well as modern. And the team at Karani have really done an awesome job with this. So we're really excited to have it on board. We're really interested to see how it does with our customers. And if you use Kontakt, you know how amazing the different libraries and such within it can be. And we think this will be a really awesome add to your arsenal. So I'm going to go over some of the presets and sounds from it and show you the really cool features that are included in this collection. So first, let's jump into some different sounds here. Polyscape is broken into a variety of different sounds. We've got what they call single modules, pads and soundscapes, strings and sweeps, and keys and vintage stuff. So we'll start with single modules. Let's just pick something random here. So that's a pretty cool one. So I believe it's called single modules because only one of the 4 presets are in use in these kind of sounds. And the way that Polyscape is structured, we'll start on the edit page, which lets you kind of see a little bit behind the scenes, is that there are these 4 different sounds, basically 4 different layers within the Kontakt collection. And so within each patch, essentially, are 4 different layers with a variety of different sounds that you can choose from. So with this one, it only has the reed sweeper turned on. It's broken into different categories. They've got strings, brass, reeds, vox, piano, organs, morph, and special. My understanding is that special are highly processed sounds. They ran them through VHS tapes, things like that, to create some unique sounds. Strings are self-explanatory, as are brass, reed instruments, or emulating reed instruments. Vox, it's kind of a vocal sound. Piano, organ, morph. We'll play with some of those and see how they sound. I think they move around and they're a bit more electronic sounding. But yeah, so you've got these 4 different layers. And so since this one only has one turned on, we will start with that. So within this first tab here, we've got the general volume and envelope settings. And so you can adjust the individual volume of each of the layers and then the attack and release. So let's see what happens when we do that. That's pretty cool. All right, so we'll kind of leave it there. Then next you jump into the, these are basically the effects settings of the individual layers. And so we've got 2 different EQ presets. You can have both of them on at the same time. You've got a high pass and a low pass. And so, in different sounds, it's going to sound different. But then over here, we've got 2 different stereo width presets. So that'll be fun to play with as well. And then finally, we've got a couple of different reverb settings. That you can dial in to your liking. And then last but not least, we've got this pulse setting. And essentially it's 2 different kinds of pulses. One that's more of like a sine wave, typical wobble, LFO type thing. And the second is more of, I would say probably a triangle or saw that plucks a little bit more. So let's see how it sounds. So that's pretty fun to play with. And then, of course, a lot of this stuff is all, you can assign it to MIDI. So I'm sure there's some fun that can be had by assigning those to different buttons or knobs on your controller and flipping between them and automating and yada, yada. So pretty awesome controls here. And then let's select a preset that's going to be a bit more complicated. So I'm going to go into the pads and soundscapes. Let's see what we can find. Let's find one that sounds cool. How about Windows 9500? That's cool because it does kind of give a Windows-esque vibe, but from the future. All right. So as you can see, this one has all 4 of these layers turned on. One thing that we haven't jumped into yet is this main screen. So the main screen is very simple. It only really has 2 controls. And so pole, what does pole mean? So what pole does is it switches between a mix of the top 2 and the bottom 2 layers. And so when it's all the way to the left like this, it's only going to play the bottom 2. All right, and then if we jump to all the way to the right, it's only playing the top 2. And in between, we can hear out sounds. Okay, so what you can do is kind of create either 2 variations of a similar sound so that it mixes between them nice and smoothly, or you can have kind of 2 totally different sounding soundscapes and have it really change the way it feels when you switch between the poles. So we'll try that in a second, but jumping back to the main screen, and then the EXP is the expression knob, which frankly I'm not exactly sure 100% what it does. But on certain sounds, you can definitely hear a difference, and you can play around with it and see what you like. They don't explain it super clearly on their website, so I'm not 100% sure. All right, so let's jump into a different sound. Let's try a string and sweep. Telepathic cream. All right. So another thing we can jump into is the other window here, the master, which is pretty straightforward. It's got a just a general EQ for the entire global sound, and then a compressor and limiter. So you can mess around with that to dial in how you want the sound to sound. So I think we should create something of our own a little bit. Let's start with a certain preset, and then we will go from there. All right, so let's see how the different poles sound. All right, so I'm going to change things up a little. Let's try a VHS sound. Let's solo it so we can hear it. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that's a pretty cool sound. And then what do we want to mix it with? Let's try, actually, I kind of like the idea of a flute with it. Let's hear how that sounds. Kind of feel like that's not as exciting as I thought it would be. Maybe a string. That's pretty cool. Let's adjust the volume a bit. I think I need that a little louder. right. I like that sub with that EQ off. Yeah, just like that slow pulse happening on that one. Okay, so I want to try having a totally different sound on the right pole. Okay, maybe a little too much there. I don't like the release that way. Okay, cool. One great thing with Kontakt instruments is that they play very differently depending how hard you hit them. Because they're so multi-sampled, they've recorded this a ton of different ways, and how hard you hit it makes a big difference. All right, and then what do we want to pair that with? Let's try choral. Okay, that's pretty cool. So now let's mix those together. All right, and now if we turn on both of our poles, I gotta adjust the volume. I think these are way louder. Let's see. Yeah, they are. Okay, just so that it's not as crazy of a difference when we switch it over. Awesome. All right, now let's hear it. All right, so that's going to be fun. I'm going to keep playing with this for a few hours probably, but as you can see, we can create some really spooky, clever, unique, interesting sounds. I think this is a great tool for music composition, for film, for games, for whatever sort of track that you like that needs a little bit of old school vintage feel, 1980s-esque vibes, synthwave, all those different genres. And so those are really in fashion right now. So I think there's a lot of use cases for these kind of sounds. And so for the price, I don't think you're going to get anything better. And you basically get access to all of these amazing analog synths all within Kontakt. And it just gives you so many awesome tools that you can play around with, customize, create your own sounds. So hope you guys found this video helpful. Hope you guys enjoy playing with Karani's Polyscape and using it to make your best music ever. Go have fun.